Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with the Soul. I actually feel, with all the snow that we're in the middle of winter, of saying, "Welcome to Fantasy Island." Isn't that kind of a throwback reference for all of us? I loved that show. Anyways, I wanted to say welcome to joining us this week on how to gracefully survive winter. So on Monday we talked about, kind of the small whys, what winter's really about from a couple different cultures. And winter is about taking that time to, good morning, Kathy. Winter is about taking that time to really dive deep into the things that you haven't worked through yet. That's from so many cultural traditions, the natural purpose of winter. It's to give yourself that opportunity to go inside. Good morning, Kelly. To reflect, to let those things which normally are buried pretty deep come up. Good morning, Margie. And the reason being is because with winter you're under a lot more different types of stress. And stress has a lot of positive benefits. And one of them is when you get really stressed out, it kind of cracks you open like a nut. And it lets all of that stuff that normally you're able to cope with and deal with and navigate through, it lets the things which are, the deepest and the darkest and the most controlling, what they'd call your shadow self, it lets those things come up. Good morning, Stephanie. And the beautiful thing about that is when you bring things out of your subconscious into your conscious mind, you can actually do something about it. Now you can rewire it. So, hi, Ro, nice to see you. So from so many different cultures, winter is that time when you can dive deep into yourself and clean things up so that by the time you get to spring, you've got a great plan of action. You've got the dreams set in place. Good morning, Marva, that you want to create. You're ready for the next year. And so even though this sounds all pretty and unicorns and fluffy clouds and all that other stuff, winter's kind of compared to the dark night of the soul. And the thing is sometimes we're launched into it because we're blindsided by stuff and we're not expecting it. But if you're smart, if you are on a healing path, if you're someone who wants to be a healer or an energy worker, or if you want to heal your family, or if you want to break the chain of your past, then you really need to be proactive, not just keep coping. You need to start taking steps that let you use this time as it's supposed to be used to evolve as a person, to reclaim parts of yourself that you might have forgotten, and to stop self-sabotaging yourself, to clean up the things that keep you from repeating your patterns over and over. This is that time. So yesterday then, we talked about the tools you'd need. And if any of you are watching this, it's more than likely you've been on this path for a while and this is not your first load of pickles. You just didn't fall off the farm truck. The things that you need to do, and sometimes you've done it with gusto and gung-ho and lost those 30 pounds or whatever it was, and really got yourself on track, got into therapy and got things cleaned up, and then you sort of spiraled down again. Spring came and you got back into life and summer and all those things. So you probably already know that you need to be hydrated, you need vitamin D, you need to exercise, you need to get sunlight, you need to be out in nature, you need to play and have fun, you need to eat foods that you enjoy, you need more fiber, you need to communicate and talk with people and connect. You already know you need to do these things, and you're probably feeling like a big fat failure, slug, because when winter comes, especially because it's harder in those other ways, we don't do the things that we know we're supposed to do in order to feel better. Well, let me tell you one of the reasons why we don't. So a lot of us, in fact, more than 50% of our population were raised in a style of parenting that really pushed self-soothing. It pushed, okay, you're crying, too bad. You need to soothe yourself. You need to figure it out, because otherwise, you know, your parents would have ended up with some weird, clingy kid that was codependent. And actually, that's not necessarily true. You know, within the first 0 to 5 years, we really need to know, because we're still embryos in some way, we really need to know that we are safe in the world. That if we ask for what we need, there's a good chance that we'll get it. That we won't be abandoned, we won't be, you know, left behind, we won't end up being a bag lady on a street corner, you know, we aren't going to be, you know, sent somewhere. We really need a strong sense of security. But because of the parenting style of the United States, especially a few decades ago, and that's one of the reasons it's changed, is because people are like, oh my gosh, that didn't work, I need to do it different. Especially a few decades ago, you were responsible for yourself at a very, very young age. And not only responsible for you, you were probably responsible for a lot of other people. And the problem that this happens is we end up being super responsible for ourselves, super responsible for everybody else around us, and we don't learn the things that we really need to learn in order to be healthy. And one of the cornerstones, or a couple of the cornerstones of that, is how important it is to reach out and connect, how important it is to ask the right people to get our needs met, and how important it is to actually get our needs met. How many people think that they can just power through everything, that they're going to get their own needs met because nobody's going to help them meet them anyways, and why do you bother asking, because it's just going to end up a complete failure and everything's going to blow up in your face, and you know, so why bother, because you've asked for what you've needed before and you've been completely ignored. And so, you know, it just proves the point that there's you know, only you until the day you die. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. The things that you might not be understanding is that that is only true sometimes. You know, your big view of the world, that you are responsible for you and nothing can ever change and this is the way it's going to be, it's kind of a fatalistic point of view. That point of view is what, one, helped keep you safe when you were young, but two, isn't true. Good morning, Veronica. It's not true that you can't depend upon people. It's not true that you can't reach out and help get your needs met. Those things aren't true. It's not true that that no matter what you do, it won't matter because it doesn't make a difference. That's not true. Let me give you a couple stories that help you realize that things aren't quite the way you think they are. So yesterday I talked about how winter is a time where you can start to change your patterns. You can start to do different things. You know, consider yourself a little mouse that's in a closet. You know, and first of all, you're scared. You stay in the closet. You don't want to do anything. But you get tired of being in the closet, so you start to look under the door, and everything's fine. And then you start to open the door, and everything's fine. And you start to go out, and everything's fine. And, you know, maybe because the cat's finally passed away, you know, or they don't have a cat anymore. Good morning, Snow. Or the house was bought by somebody different. You know, but we're still in the dark thinking that we can't come out into the light because we've been proven. Or maybe when you had that courage and you came out and you asked somebody for help, you know, the cat chased you back away. And you barely escaped with your life and you learned that lesson. You know, that was when you were a kid. You're now an adult with a lot of resources. And let me tell you how people work. We don't work by suddenly being in the dark and then suddenly running out and being, you know, queen of the world. It takes a lot of steps. It takes steps and steps and steps and steps in order to get where we want to go. It's not an automatic, and we end up beating ourselves up because we think we should go from 0 to 60 without problems. We create stories that keep us in the dark all the time. And one of the reasons we do, so we don't feel, you know, don't judge yourself too hard. Thanks for bringing it out, Marva. Don't judge yourself too hard, because that's what people do. We want to stay safe. And so our brain makes up stories to keep us there. You know, the thing is when you start getting community like this, these videos, people like me to talk to, when you start meeting those basic needs, good morning, Selena, like getting water in the morning, and good morning, Shannon, getting water in the morning, and the fiber and the vitamin D and the things like that, you've got the resources. Okay, cool. I'll see you later, Marva. You've got the resources that you need in order to start coming out of the dark, so that instead of feeling sick, rolled up in a ball in the closet in the dark, you now start to go out and experiment with your realities. So the first time I had to tell somebody important to me that that they had hurt my feelings, it was very hard, and the experience was kind of negative because they didn't know what to expect, and so they reacted and they overreacted because they had all of their own issues and they had all of their own problems that they had to work through. And so I said to myself, see, it doesn't work. I'm not safe. I can't. A good experience of that was with my dad. When I was in high school, I finally got up the courage to, tell him, hey, this isn't right. I don't agree, blah, blah, blah. And he got mad and it didn't work. And so I went and I hid in my closet for decades after that. But what people need, just like you, we need all of these steps. You can't go from, hiding in your closet to standing on top of the cheese with a little flag. Good morning, Stevie, that says I conquered all. It takes about 20, 30, 40 steps to get there. And so the first time you do something new, you are probably going to fail miserably. It's all going to fall apart. You're going to say something to somebody, they're going to take it wrong, they're going to blow up, they're going to freak out, and you're going to say, see, it didn't work, why do I bother? But in reality, that's their first step. The first thing you need to do is plant the seed, because once you plant the seed, then change can happen. So when you say something, when you say, okay, this happened, this is how I reacted, this is how I responded, you come from a grounded, centered place when you do it, and they overreact and they freak out and they, take it wrong. You've still planted the seed. Because anything that brings up a lot of emotion, if they feel they need to overreact to something, that means that they're going to remember this. When people are triggered, it's something that they remember. It's not something that they put down and they ignore. So when someone has a negative reaction to something you say, that's actually a really positive thing, because it means that you have affected them in some way. You've made an impact. You've touched a nerve. You've opened a door so that now the two of you can come together and create a little bit better relationship between the two of you. You can communicate better. You can understand. So when I worked for the Park District, I ran a nature center. There was a Christmas party one year, and there were Santa Clauses on the table. And everybody, on the table had a thing under their chair or their plate or whatever to get the Santa Claus. And through some sort of mixed confusion, I got the Santa Claus, but somebody else thought that they were supposed to get the Santa Claus. And, because I'm kind of greedy at times, I took the Santa Claus. I'm like, hey, it's mine. Too bad, fair and square. And this person wasn't very happy about it. So the next day I thought, okay, I'm going to bring out my passive-aggressive tendencies, and I'm going to put it on their desk with a little note that says, you know what, I think you really deserve to have this, this Santa Claus, and I hope you have it, and I hope you have a nice day. And this person then became my very best friend for a while. Not necessarily for me, but for her, because she was so needy. She needed friends. Because she didn't know how to get along with anybody, and her karma was that people weren't nice to her because she wasn't nice to them, and she kept overreacting. There are steps. They take steps. So because I was generous and took that next step, she came back with kindness and support and love and gratitude and compassion. But it wouldn't have happened that way if I had just given her the Santa Claus in the first place at the table. If I'd said, no, you're right, it's okay, here, you take it, because it didn't trigger her, it didn't bring anything up so that we could change it and transform it. If I'd given up and been like, you know what, this is terrible, you know what, you take it, I don't care, which is exactly kind of how I felt, except I'm stubborn. I let it go a little bit further. And one of the gifts of letting things go a few more steps is you realize that people start to make shifts and changes. They start to adjust how they behave to the world and how they act towards you. It's like they're trying to figure it out too. They're trying to get rid of all that discomfort that maybe you stirred up. They're trying to find a sense of peace and a sense of understanding. You've now got them thinking about something. You now have got them self-reflecting. So it may take 7 to 10 to 15 to 20 steps, but you planted the seeds and you started to take them where they needed to go. Now, if you stayed the little mouse that said, you know what, I tried, it didn't work, I screwed everything up, why do I bother? I need to just keep doing what I'm doing because I'm going to die young anyways, or I'm going to die miserable, or, my relationships will never be fixed, or my kids will always be screwed up. When you take that victim fatalistic attitude, which is normal, by the way, which is natural. Good morning, Gail. It's natural you feel that way. You were trained and raised to believe that that is truth, that you couldn't trust anybody and that it didn't matter because, you're going to be screwed up anyways. That was just the parenting style. That was just what was going on in the world, and it's the parenting styles of a lot of cultures too. You didn't get that connection to know that the world isn't what you think it is. You stayed at that first step in the dark thinking this is what the world was really like. And you didn't realize that maybe you had to find a better way around the cat, or maybe you had to make friends with the cat, or maybe you just had to wait the cat out because, as I said, the cat would die. Or maybe you had to, build up your muscles, emotional or physical or mental, in order to take on the cat and scare the crap out of it. Whatever it might be. Or maybe you need to get a cow and make your own cheese. Who cares? But we can problem solve these things, and it takes steps. And so really, honestly, you just need to take that one step. So here's my challenge for you today. You know the things you should be doing in order to gracefully survive winter. You know what you should be preparing for yourself. You know the things that you want to work through and where you want to get to with this. You know that. So take a little bit of the emotionality away that you're a failure, that can never do anything anyways, and you're too tired and you're old and you're weak and you're sick and everything's against you. Let's put all of that to the side for a little bit, because that's normal. Honestly, we all feel that way. We all get in that mindset. Suspend belief for a while and say, how can I problem solve this? How can I do one thing that will move me in the direction that I want to go? Just one. So why should you do that? Why should you heal? Why should you, do more than just cope with life? Let me tell you the benefits. Let me give you a little future vision that you're going to create over the winter. And the future vision is, when you start to clean these things up, when you start to get the foundational pieces of taking care of yourself, when you start to value taking care of yourself, when you realize how easy it is when it becomes a part of your life, when you start to trust that people are bigger and better than you think that they are, what happens is you start sharing more of yourself. You start being smarter with the people you share with, and you start having these amazing connecting experiences with other human beings that take you beyond your life to something bigger. Because 1 + 1 does not equal 2. You plus another person having an authentic connection, opening up, being yourself, trusting that they are evolving and growing too. Trusting that, if you stay on this path, you'll get where you want to go, and so will the people around you. What happens is your life becomes better. You become happier. You start having these beautiful connections with other human beings of vulnerability and magic and wonder and wonderfulness. You start to feel good enough to do the things that you want to do, to go after your dreams. You start having enough resources that you can sincerely be present to the people that you love, and not just annoyed that they need something else from you and why can't they do it themselves. You start being able to, good morning, Christine. You start being able to help the people around you grow, help the people around you evolve by not just happy, sappy, give them everything that they want kind of love, but the sort of love where you say, you know what, this is what I want. And it gets them thinking beyond themselves. It gets them thinking beyond their own point of view. And it helps them evolve and grow and be happier in the first place. One of the problems I've had in the past is I have enjoyed my superiority over people. I know that sounds weird. When I talk to my psychologist, she laughs at me. I'm like, well, I do this and I'm stoic about it because it proves to myself that I'm better than the person that was doing this to me, and I've risen above, and clearly I'm okay because they're so screwed up, and I feel much better about myself. Thank you very much. But the problem is you're still not getting your needs met. You may feel superior. You may feel better than not everybody, but you may feel better than the person that you're talking to. Like somehow, I'm so glad I'm not you because you're really screwed up. Look at all the issues you have. You start to work with them to create better relationships, to create better interactions. So it's no longer you against them. It's no longer see how much better than I am than you are. I'm okay, and clearly you're not. It's not that ego feeding, where I've got my stuff together and you're screwed up, and so I can continue to live my life. I'm glad you've got problems, which is why a lot of healers and teachers and nurses and whatnot get into the profession. One of the sneaky threads that can underlie that is because it helps us feel like we're okay. By focusing on other people's problems, we don't have to focus on ourselves, and we feel like we're doing all right in life. But the problem with that is we're not doing all right in life. We could do better. We can have lives which are more full of joy and authenticity and comfort and happiness and movement and relationships and all the things that you dream about, all the things you saw in those sitcoms and the movies of, what you really want. You can feel whole. You can smile with your whole face. You can sleep. You can get off the painkillers. You can get off the sleep aids. You can get off those things. When you take this time, as crazy it is, when you take this time during the winter to start experimenting and clean those things up, to start, trying a little bit, seeing how it works, and then running back if you need to start the process of imprinting on your life, of interacting differently with your life, engaging with it differently. So pick the one thing you need to do, whether it's you need to take time every day to feel what you're feeling, whether you need to set yourself a space where you experiment trying something new. I had a mentor who once said, if you don't know what to do, do the thing you haven't done before, because it'll give you a different outcome and a different result, won't it? So if you do something even slightly different, you'll get a little bit of an outcome. Or like the guy in Jurassic Park. I loved him. He was all about chaos theory. And he says, he put a drop of water on her arm. Probably you've seen this. And the water came down. And then he put another drop on her arm. And it went down in a different direction. Because even just something happening once changes everything. So the first time that you do something, or when you do something, even if it's a little bit different, it changes everything already. It's already done. Even watching this video, it's already done. You've started changing things already. That's why a lot of people might argue with me, because when I say, look, all you really have to do is just start watching these. You don't have to do anything else. You just have to show up. You don't have to make major changes in your life. You don't have to, move mountains or climb Mount Everest or swim the ocean. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You just have to watch these and show up. Because what happens are the words that I'm saying, the community that we're building will imprint on you. And you will start to take those 10 to 20 to 30 steps that you need to do to come out of the dark and into the, out of the closet and start to live your life and start to live the life that you thought might exist, but because you tried all those things and that all failed, that you didn't think really existed, that you didn't think you could move towards. Now we're always moving towards that higher level of nirvana or peace or joy or love, our whole entire lives, and some people believe lifetime after lifetime. So you're always moving in that direction. It doesn't stop. You don't achieve anything. You don't gain anything. But what happens is you become so much lighter and happier and healthier and comfortable with yourself, and life becomes so much more fun that it's worth it. You never want to go back. Suddenly you say, you know what? I want to face these fears and I want to work through these things and change these patterns no matter what, because it's worth it. So just change one thing. Problem solve one situation, no matter what it is. Problem solve it. It can be simple. Maybe it's keeping water next to your bed and drinking it first thing in the morning. Maybe that's the one thing you problem solve. or maybe putting a bottle of water in your car so that when you drive, you drink it, making sure you drink it when you drive. Maybe keeping that neat new little pattern in place. Just do one thing. And what happens is it changes everything after the fact, the ripple effect. And it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. And all you have to do is just keep showing up and it'll turn out. It really will. It's just taken longer than they ever told you would. They said it would be an instant magic pill, and it's not. It is a tiny little step and a tiny little step and a tiny little step, but it's a lot easier than you think. So, okay, that's it for today. I have to get my body to an appointment. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go to inspiremassage.com. Good morning, Danny. I'm so glad you joined us. Inspiremassage.com. Sign up for emails so that you can get these even if you miss the live streams, because I send them out most every day. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for starting to change your life. I'm really excited to be there with you. And we're going to be spending the rest of the week, the last couple days, talking about gracefully surviving winter. So if you've got something, put it in the comments, and we'll address it in the other 2 live streams. So, good morning, Janice. Sorry you missed us. You got us at the tail end. But I will see you later, alligators. Bye.